Be silent, you will get everything in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when the loudest thing you can do is say nothing at all. Silence is not weakness, it is power restrained. It is dignity held high. It is peace when the world wants noise. We live in a time where everybody wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to prove a point. But let me tell you something that will change your attention, deserves your energy. You see, I used to think that speaking up every time I was wronged, every time I was overlooked, made me stronger. But over the years, I learned the real strength was in the stillness. The real shift happened when I stopped reacting and started observing. When I stopped explaining myself. Because silence, it's not the absence of words. It's the presence of power. When you are silent, you start hearing what others miss. You see opportunities they talk over. You catch the blessings they rush past. In silence, you connect with your higher self. You begin to listen not just to the world, but to your own voice. That deep, wise voice inside you that already knows where you're meant to be. Some of the most beautiful things in life bloom in quiet. A seed doesn't shout when it grows into a tree. The moon doesn't boast when it controls the tides. And you don't have to prove your worth with noise. Just be still. Just keep showing up. Just do the work. And let the results speak. Let your success be your volume. Let your peace be your protest. Let your journey be your answer. So if they doubt you, be silent. If they mock you, be silent. If the world is loud with opinions, be silent. Because silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you are wise enough to wait for the right moment when your actions, your growth, your glow will speak louder than anything you ever could. Be silent. You will get everything in your life because you'll be aligned, focused, grounded, and undistracted. And that is when the universe opens its arms wide and says, you're ready. There's a kind of strength that doesn't shout. It doesn't slam fists on tables. It doesn't fight to be seen or scramble to be heard. It doesn't rise with noise or fall with silence. This strength lives in restraint, lives in stillness. It lives in that quiet decision to not react, even when everything inside you wants to. Iago, I have learned through moments of pain and growth that you don't have to respond to every voice that calls your name. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to defend yourself against every lie, every rumor, every misunderstanding. There is a peace, a power in choosing silence. Because silence, when it is chosen, not forced, is one of the most powerful moves you can make. There were times in my life when I thought silence meant surrender. That if I didn't fight back, speak up, prove my point, I was losing. That people would walk over me, underestimate me, define me. But what I discovered was the opposite. In silence, I was not weak. I was wise. I was conserving my energy for what actually mattered. I was holding my ground, not abandoning it. You see, when you respond to every attack, every insult, every criticism, you give away your power. You let the world control your emotions. But when you pause, when you breathe, when you decide not to react, You are no longer controlled by chaos. You are rooted, you are centered, you are powerful. And people feel that. Oh, yes. They feel it when your silence doesn't come from fear, but from confidence, from knowing who you are, what you bring, what you're capable of. They feel it when you don't lower yourself to match their noise, when you rise above it without needing to announce your flight. There's a kind of magic in that quiet strength. It makes others wonder what you're thinking. It makes them reflect on their own behavior. It shifts the energy of the room without you having to say a single word. That's the power of presence. That's the weight of self-control. Let me tell you something. Not everything that provokes you is worth your reaction. Not everyone who doubts you deserves your explanation. Silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem. It means you're choosing not to be dragged down by it. It means you're letting time, growth, and truth speak on your behalf. I've seen more dignity in a person who walks away in silence than in someone who wins an argument with words. I've seen more courage in the one who smiles instead of snapping back. I've seen more progress in those who stay focused, quietly building their dreams, than those who waste their days trying to prove their worth to people who are never going to see it anyway. Here's what silence also gives you. It gives you space. Space to think, space to heal, space to recalibrate. In that stillness, you get clarity. You begin to realize what actually deserves your energy and what doesn't. You begin to distinguish between battles that are worth fighting and those that are simply distractions in disguise. We live in a noisy world. Social media, gossip, criticism, pressure, it all demands a response. But you don't owe the world your constant reaction. You don't have to match the chaos around you. You can be the calm. You can be the stillness. You can be the reminder that not everything needs to be fought in public. Because some of the most powerful victories happen in silence. When you choose to rise without shouting, when you choose to grow without posting, when you choose to glow without seeking applause, that kind of power, it's unshakable, it's quiet, but it's deeply felt. So no, silence is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is not silence out of fear. It is silence out of wisdom, out of strength, out of the knowing that your energy is sacred, that your peace is precious, that your path is yours to walk, not to explain. You don't need to be loud to be strong. You don't need to be seen to be rising. You don't need to be heard to be healing. Sometimes your silence is the storm they never saw coming. Silence is not just the absence of noise. It is the presence of something deeper, something sacred. When the world quiets, when the chatter fades, when you choose to step away from the rush, you start to hear something you've been missing all along. Your own voice. Not the voice shaped by fear or doubt. Not the one influenced by others' opinions or social media or the noise of expectations. I'm talking about the quiet, calm, steady voice that's always been there inside you. The one that whispers truths when no one else is watching. The one that knows who you really are beneath all the layers you wear for the world. In silence, you meet yourself. We spend so much of our lives running, chasing, comparing, performing. We get caught in cycles of what should I do next? Who should I become? What do they think of me? And in all that noise, we forget to ask the most important question of all. What do I want? What feels right for me? The world is loud. It pulls you in 100 directions. Everyone has an opinion on what you should do, who you should be, how you should live. And if you're not careful, you can lose your entire life trying to follow a path that was never meant for you. But in silence, in stillness, something shifts. You start to separate what's yours from what's not. You begin to feel the weight of what doesn't belong to you and the lightness of what does. You begin to realize that the life you're meant to live doesn't scream. It speaks softly. It flows gently. It waits for you to slow down long enough to notice. You don't find clarity in the chaos. You don't discover purpose in the pressure. And it's in those quiet moments when there's no one around and nothing to distract you that you finally hear it. That voice inside saying, this is what I love. This is what I need. This is who I am. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. I can't tell you how many times I've sat with confusion, sat with pain, sat with uncertainty, and searched for someone, anyone, to give me the answer. And yet, every time I came back to silence, back to stillness, that inner voice would rise. Sometimes gently, sometimes firmly, but always truthfully. Your soul knows the way, but it will not shout over your distractions. It waits patiently for you to slow down and listen. It speaks in intuition, in feelings, in the quiet nudges you get when you're on the edge of something new. And when you start listening, really listening, you begin to move through life with more peace, more intention, more alignment. When you connect with that voice inside, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop looking for permission. You stop needing constant validation because you begin to know who you are, know what you stand for, know what you're here to do, even if you can't explain it yet. And isn't that beautiful? To live in such alignment with yourself that even when things are uncertain on the outside, there's a calm certainty on the inside. That's what silence gives you. It gives you access to your truth. It gives you space to breathe, to reflect, to return to yourself when the world has pulled you in every direction. It's in silence that you remember what makes you feel alive. It's in silence that your creativity returns, that your confidence is rebuilt, that your peace finds its way back home. People often ask, how do I know what I'm supposed to do with my life? And my answer is always the same. Go be still. Go sit in silence, not for an hour, not even for a day, but consistently. Build a relationship with your inner world. The more you listen, the clearer it gets. The more you honor it, the stronger it becomes. Because when your life flows from that inner voice, from that deep knowing, everything starts to change. Decisions become easier. Stress fades. You stop chasing things that don't serve you. You begin to attract what's meant for you, not because you're hustling harder, but because you're aligned That alignment only comes through silence, through stillness, through the sacred pause where you stop listening to the world long enough to finally hear yourself. And what a gift that is, to finally hear yourself clearly, to realize that the answers were never out there. They were always within. There is something unshakable about a person who no longer feels the need to explain themselves. A quiet confidence, a deep-rooted peace, a calm that says, I don't need to prove it. I am it. We live in a world that encourages noise. Talk louder, post more, argue harder. Defend your choices, justify your every move. But let me tell you what life has taught me over and over again. Words fade, but actions remain. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to get into debates to prove your value. You don't have to over-explain your dreams to people who were never meant to understand them. Because when you're truly aligned with your purpose, when you're walking in truth, when you're doing the work, the results will speak for themselves. And that's the most powerful way to speak for themselves. And that's the most powerful way to speak for themselves. Through presence, through consistency. You want people to know who you are? Show them. Not by talking about your intentions, but by embodying them. Let your work speak. Let your growth speak. Let the way you carry yourself speak. Let the way you keep showing up even when no one's watching, even when the room is silent, speak for you. You don't have to shout that you're disciplined. Just be disciplined. You don't have to explain your integrity. Just live it. You don't have to post about your journey every single day. Just walk it with grace. And those who need to see it will, because the truth is, the people who matter don't need constant proof. And the ones who demand it won't believe it anyway. So why waste your breath trying to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding you? There is power in restraint. There is freedom in choosing peace over performance. You do not need to perform your life for an audience. You are not here to win applause. You are here to become, to evolve, to rise. And that journey, more often than not, is quiet. It's personal. It's not something you explain. It's something you live. Sometimes people will underestimate you. Let them. Sometimes they will talk about you. Let them. Sometimes they'll question your choices, your pace, your vision. Let them. You don't owe them a single sentence. What you owe to yourself is the dedication to stay focused on the path you believe in. Because when you stop proving and start producing, you start to build a life that no one can argue with. You don't have to fight for respect. You attract it when you operate with excellence. You don't have to demand recognition, you earn it when you commit to your craft. You don't have to say, I'm working on myself. Just do the work and let your transformation walk into the room before you say a word. There is a kind of power that doesn't come from being the loudest voice in the room or the strongest presence in the fight. It doesn't come from dominance or control. It comes from peace. That quiet, unshakable kind of peace that holds steady even when everything around you is pulling at your edges. Peace is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of clarity in the middle of them. And when you have that kind of peace, you stop reacting to every bit of negativity thrown your way. You stop letting people pull you into storms that aren't yours to enter. You stop giving away your energy like it's cheap. You begin to protect your inner world the way you protect your home, carefully, intentionally, lovingly. Because you finally understand that not everyone deserves access to your mind, your spirit, your emotions. Some things are too expensive to give away. And peace is one of them. It takes strength to walk away from drama. It takes courage to stay silent when you're provoked. It takes wisdom to choose stillness when everything inside you wants to fight. But that's the real power. Not in reacting, but in rising above it. Not in getting even, but in getting free. There was a time in my life when I thought I had to respond to everything. Every rumor, every disrespect, every whisper behind my back. I thought silence made me small. I thought peace made me invisible. But then I learned something that changed me completely. You don't owe anyone your disturbance. Let them say what they will. Let them spin their stories. Let them misunderstand you. Your peace is not dependent on their perception. Your peace comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you will no longer tolerate in your space. You start to learn that not every conflict needs your attendance, that not every invitation to chaos deserves your RSVP, and that the most powerful move you can make in some situations is no move at all. That's when you begin to attract a different kind of life, because peace is a frequency. It's a vibration. And when you live in that frequency, you begin to call in things that match it. People who don't drain you, opportunities that don't stress you, environments that nourish you instead of exhaust you. You stop chasing and start receiving, not because you're working less, but because you're aligned. You stop forcing things that aren't meant for you. You stop begging for clarity from people who only offer confusion. You stop settling for half love, half effort, half truth. Because when you have peace, you don't need chaos disguised as connection. You don't need noise disguised as importance. You only desire what brings you deeper into your truth. And make no mistake, this peace is not accidental. It is earned. It is built through boundaries, through choosing healing over history, through saying no without guilt, and saying yes to yourself without apology. Sometimes people will call it selfish. Let them. Sometimes they'll say, you've changed. You have. You've grown into someone who no longer entertains what disturbs their soul. Someone who understands that peace is not a luxury. It's a requirement. You begin to see your energy as sacred. You don't waste it proving your point. You don't waste it in petty arguments. You don't allow your nervous system to be hijacked by every storm that passes through. Instead, you choose calm. You choose stillness. You choose the higher road, not because you're weak, but because you are wise enough to know that not every battle is worth your fire. That kind of peace, it's magnetic. It pulls the right people toward you, the ones who speak to your soul, not your wounds. The ones who see your calm not as something to disturb, but something to honor. It pulls the right paths into your life, because when you are grounded, you can finally hear the whispers of direction that were always there, but drowned out by the noise. Peace sharpens your intuition. It keeps you centered. It reminds you what actually matters. It teaches you to let go, not out of defeat, but out of knowing that what is meant for you will never need to be forced. It will arrive softly, in alignment, in flow. No drama, no begging, no struggle. The life you dream of, the person you're becoming, the healing, the success, the peace. It's all growing beneath the surface, even now, even when it feels like nothing's happening. That's the work of silence. It grounds you. It keeps your focus steady. When the world around you tries to rush your process, and this is what most people don't see, patience is a strategy. It's not passive. It's powerful. Silence teaches you to tune out the noise of comparison, to stop measuring your progress by someone else's pace, to stop questioning whether you're behind. Because in silence, you start to hear something louder than fear. Your purpose. Your inner knowing. The quiet voice that says, keep going. You're on the right path. Just trust it. That trust, paired with focus,